Okay, folks, my apologies for my unkempt hair. Today I want to make a video about some impromptu tips for solo or reclusive effective altruists. Okay, so about a decade ago I learned about effective altruism courtesy of some really smart and kind people who were on Facebook, and I started voraciously reading about that topic, ordering books, reading forum posts, reading conversation threads online, and so on and so forth. And I decided to, I guess, be a low-grade, independent, or lone wolf effective altruist during the next 10 years or so of my life. So here are some tips I just came up with during the past 90 seconds. And I hope that they'll be helpful to you on your journey in case you decide to be a charitable recluse of sorts, okay? First, anchor your donations to a cheap, selfish reward. So whenever it is I give a certain amount to charity, I would typically buy myself a game from the Nintendo eShop thanks to the service Deku Deals, which allows me to identify games that cost under $5 and therefore don't put me into crippling debt. Additionally, especially since they're going to be helping people who you cannot necessarily see with your eyes or touch with your fingers, you want to journal in great detail about who you're helping and how they're helped, okay? Get inside the subjective world of whoever it is you're giving, vitamin A supplements or malaria bed nets or iodized salt or whatever it is that you're funding right now within this interval of your giving. This one might be a little bit controversial, but keep your donations hidden for years, okay? I know that you may not be a practicing Jew, but you still probably want to identify something of a lamed vavnik. This will help you resist a social evolution, or a personal psychological evolution through which you get tied to social validation to an excessive degree, okay? If you can spend years helping the poor without tooting your own horn and trumpeting your good deeds, you're going to be a lot more resilient when it does become known that you're somebody with saintly qualities, okay? You will not be as likely to get steered off course because you've put in the hard, difficult reps of being pro-social when there's no audience clapping for you. This one's also likely to be controversial, but whenever you can, whenever it seems to be necessary, whenever you notice stress accumulating in your mind and body, maybe if you get a little bit irritable, you want to take multi-month breaks from altruism, okay? So, at least if you're like me, being intermittently kind and compassionate can be a lot more useful than being chronically kind and compassionate. So, the way I have phrased this to myself in more than one private journal in the past is put rest and recovery over robotism, being a robot. So I'm not going to be perfectly efficient at being a good person and doing good deeds all the time. Sometimes I'm just going to be giving $5 to a charity, at other times I'm going to be giving $100. It really just depends on a number of factors. And so you gotta just kind of roll with the punches of what kind of money you have and how you're feeling and what you accurately deduce is best for you at any given time in life. And this one is absolutely indispensable, especially if you plan to be something of a long-haul altruist who spends, we'll say, at least 10 years committed to being involved in effective altruism, okay? And that is commemorate or celebrate your charitable milestones lavishly. Something I plan to do during a month that'll emerge within the next year or two is like rent a movie every day if I can, That sounds wildly lavish to most people, wildly extravagant, but I'm not going to be traveling anywhere. I'm not going to be buying expensive fast food meals. I'm not going to be buying expensive clothes. I'm not going to be splurging on all kinds of luxuries, other than maybe cheap used books, which I love getting from eBay. and therefore I will permit myself the capacity to indulge in movies or possibly video games or anything selfish that I want and have earned during the past, I'll say 10 or 11 years of my commitments to seeking to be charitable to people who have no capacity to repay me for what I'm doing for them, okay? And this is something that might tickle your brain if you're somebody familiar with, it might be Maimonides' conception of charity, okay? I think he identifies, I don't know, 6, 7, or 8 different rankings for like the lowest versus the highest form of charity. And one of the reasons I have enjoyed giving to a charity like Iodine Global Network is because if you're able to, in principle, fund a vulnerable person's access to iodized salt, then you are, in practice, enhancing their brain power. So you're not just helping them when they don't even know who you are, but you're, in some sense, increasing their lifetime IQ, decreasing their maybe predilection to get brain damage, and therefore you are making it so that they're capable of becoming self-sustaining in a certain sense, okay? So as long as you're not too ideologically motivated, you're not going to think that the highest form of charity is just to implement capitalism somewhere. You might think instead it's about parsimoniously permitting people to have access to things that improve their lifetime IQ, while you don't hold them hostage in some way and expect them to develop into only what you want them to be. Alright, that's all I have to say for now. This is almost a 7-minute video now, so thank you for watching and have a good day. And God bless you.